And now we begin our next session for the day, Marketing in a Digital World. Mr. Kiran Gopinath is going to be the moderator for this panel discussion. He's the founder and chief executive officer of Ozone Media Solutions. He has an experience of over 15 years and is a pioneer in the internet advertising industry. The other panelists are Manu Jain, Nishank Nayak, Narayan Murthy, and Amit Chalani. Manu Jain is the co-founder and managing director of Jabong. He has played an instrumental role in accelerating the growth of the brand. He oversees all marketing activities and initiatives at Jabong.com. Nishant Nayak is the VP of e-commerce at Gitanjali Gems. Gitanjali currently retails over 8,000 products online. Narayan Murthy heads global sales and strategy at vserve.mobi and is responsible for advertising sales globally across offices in Southeast Asia, India, Africa, UK, and the US. Narayan has over a decade of experience in advertising, media planning, and media sales. Amit Chalani is the co-founder and CEO of My Solitaire and Lux Effect jewelry brands. Amit has more than 18 years of experience in the retail industry, having run e-commerce ventures and worked as a VP at TBR International and JP Morgan Chase's New York office. Over to our panelists. Thank you.
Good morning, guys. So we have a fantastic panel here to discuss, marketing on the digital platform. We have people like Manu, who spends a lot of money on advertising and promoting his brand on, I think, all media. Yes, right now I think that's what I think, and I think he can do more. We have Narayan, who obviously comes from vServe, which is a fantastic company when it comes to getting brands on the mobile platform. And we have two fantastic gentlemen who come from a slightly different vertical, I would say. They come from the jewelry business. We have Nishant and Amit. And Nishant is obviously, as during his introduction, he comes from Gitanjali Gems. And Amit from My Solitaire. So let me start off with asking the panelists of what they think of what are they doing and what their views are when it comes to marketing on the digital platform, and then we can get into we can dive deeper into the questions. So Manu, can we hear from you?
Yeah. So hi everybody. See, I am a firm believer that almost at least a significant portion of India will move online in coming few years. Look at any possible report, they will say whatever 100, 120, 140 million people that we have, it will go to anywhere between 400, 500 million in coming few years. And hence the importance of digital or online marketing will increase day by day, month by month. I think two things when I was just coming towards here and I was reflecting upon what is so different about digital marketing vis-a-vis the traditional form of marketing. And what it occurred to me that the two big trends which are evolving. One, I think the differentiation between online and offline is in a way merging or it's fading away. So if you really look at it till about few years back, the biggest media for advertising used to be TV. But if you look at today, a lot of people have started watching TV on their tablets, on their laptops, on their mobiles. And hence, you cannot really make a difference between TV versus a digital marketing. For example, there was a huge campaign by ESPNstar.com saying, you don't need a TV to watch a cricket match or a Wimbledon match. You can actually watch it on the site. I watched last IPL on my laptop and not on my TV. So marketers, I think, will need to rethink a lot of strategies on how to reach out to consumers, which is not only offline, but a strong combination of offline plus online or digital. I think second, for me, with so many people becoming online, the importance, because online allows you to disseminate information so easily, it's almost like each of the brands need to gain trust almost on a daily basis. So what I mean is, you really can't depend because you have built a brand over last 6 months or about 2 years or 5 years, you can just live with it. Now people have very, very readily access to information. For example, I was trying to buy a mobile phone for my dad. And my dad is 60-year-old, and for 58 years in his life, he didn't have any internet access. He came online only about 2 years back, and he bought an iPad for him. And when I was thinking of buying a phone for him, he actually had a strong point of view, saying which phone I should buy for him. It's only because of the information that he gathered on Facebook, Twitter, etc. Because of the comments that maybe I would have posted, or some of my friends or my cousins would have posted. So he had a point of view on which phone to buy and why. So with the advent of online and so many people going online, the brands will need to be very, very conscious about what are people saying about them in the different forums, in different platforms, and will need to accordingly think about the strategy of online versus offline.
Okay. Great. Narayan?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Always been a media advertising person. So my perspective on mediums is a little different, because I believe audience is more important than the medium I'm talking to. That's what I tell most of the brands I meet every day in my life. Because I believe it's about what they're trying to do, through the medium, what their interests are, what their likes are, what their dislikes are. And as Manu was saying, they're evolving. They have more information on their toes now. And I'll give you a very contrasting example. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she has, as you were saying, example of your father, and she exactly knows what app she wants on her iPad. She actually tells me what she wants, what she doesn't want. She knows how to delete an app. She knows how to download an app from the App Store. She also just figured out the password, so I can't really help it. So that's the kind of audience you're talking about. And the 4-year-old today, and we were just having a conversation outside, when they become a 15-year-old, when they become a 20-year-old, the kind of information, the kind of comfort they will have with the medium is completely at a different tangent we can't imagine right now. And that's what I call, all of us, and in fact, most of us in this room are digital immigrants. We adapted to something which we didn't have. We were not born with cell phones. We were not born with internet. I only got access to internet when I was, 17, 18? And internet that time was also very different. But my daughter is born with internet. I only got a mobile phone when I was like 24, 25. She has 3-4 mobile phone access to her already right now. So we are people, or we are what I call digital immigrants. We are graduated to a new medium. So we have our own issues with the medium. Our perceptions about the medium, our understanding about the medium, the look or the window which we look from the medium is completely different from the window they look at the medium. They are the digital natives. They're born in the medium. They are very, very comfortable with an iPad. They're extremely comfortable with any kind of device you throw at them. I think that is what marketeers need to look at. The marketeers need to understand that there are two distinct sets of audiences which they are talking to, who are extremely comfortable with one and who have still issues with the medium. And digital, unfortunately, is still dabbling in those issues after 10, 12 years of having digital in a sizable chunk of, I will still not say it's sizable as compared to the overall media market, but yes, we've been doing constant progress in terms of how media spends are increasing every year on year and how we are projecting. On the other hand, within the digital ecosystem, again, I come from VServe, so I can't but talk about mobile. So there are still, again, newer developments happening. Online took these many years to reach to a certain stage, the PC market and the internet penetration and the broadband. Mobile is actually taking on a completely new level. And to add to Manu's example, and there is lot of, or more than 60–70% of the new internet users in India are not or haven't ever touched a PC in their lives. They've only come on internet through mobile or any other mobile device. I think that is something which we have to look out for. And when marketing happens, I think digital marketing and cannot be anything which is different from what is happening right now. Digital marketing is an integral part of marketing for any brand, any service, anything which is reaching out in its particular audience.
Great.
Yeah, similar points. At Gitanjali, we are a traditional group. Been around 20 years in this country now. We own 50% of branded jewelry in this country. But it's for us, digital has been a journey. It's unlike Jabong, it's a true digital company, so to speak. Right? A majority of our customers are today offline. Retail stores is a big part of our business. Our online business is about 2 years old, and sort of gaining steady. We're making steady progress there. What we have noticed in marketing especially is so we spend disproportionately high amounts of money on offline advertising. And so that has worked well for us in the past, right? Brand building has been great. But what we are now starting to do is take the same messaging and now try and distribute it through a different digital medium to reach a different audience altogether. We've started our traditional customers, who have seen our ads, or middle-aged customers. They still read a newspaper. They still, read the ads and they come over. But in the digital world, we are starting to see customers who have never engaged with Gitanjali ever before. So the first time they hear about Gitanjali is, and then they come online, or they're researching, or they're trying to buy an engagement ring or something for an occasion. So for us, the challenge is how do we keep the same messaging, the brand messaging to these customers? How do we reach an audience, who's very young, who's only digitally savvy? They probably don't even read a newspaper anymore. So how do we get the same messaging? So we're actually creating a completely different digital plan, right, for these customers. And our belief is that, the ratios today are very skewed towards offline. And, every year we spend more money in online. And so the ratio is now starting to move towards digital. Right? But I think we have a long way to go. Interestingly for us, it would be amazing if we could, digital, the advantage being that we can track the customer. So we know, exactly what they're looking for. We can be more innovative. We can have a different messaging for each of the brands, different price points. We can target the ads really well. So we're spending a lot more time, but, definitely in the traditional sense, from offline to online, it's a journey for us, right?
Cool.
So I'm from a little bit different background. We actually sell online in America right now. However, we've been planning to come on to India for the last 6 months, and as of right now, we're going to be online end of this year or beginning of next year. So as I've learned from America, India is a totally different market for digital marketing. Just like he was saying before, mobile is the relevant way to go online here, which is totally different in America, although it's increasing in America, but people still have access to a PC much more than they have access to an iPhone, and then they go online. So they've already been online, and then they go to an iPhone. Whereas in India, it's actually opposite. And we face a huge challenge, and I think a lot of people who are starting online here is going to face the same challenges, is how do you sell a product on here when the screen is the size of this? It's very difficult to sell jewelry, especially online, when your screen size is so small, where people are so used to buying anything with touching and feeling. We're already losing that online, but we're also losing the size, the image of a TV. We're losing it, and we're making it so small. However, saying that, I also believe that India's jewelry market online will grow tremendously. India's population today is the youngest internet population in the world, which is 23 years old. As they grow older, they're growing up, and as everyone's mentioned, that they've grown up in this environment now, and people are getting online more and more. So being anything digital today in India will succeed, and I also believe that jewelry will be a big factor. Budgeting, like he was talking about, in America, people are now used to buying jewelry online. People still come and ask me, and at this conference, I think about 15 people have asked me, people buy jewelry online, and it's very tough for me to believe that people still think this way. However, I think that's just because of country to country and development. However, in India, you'll see electronics has already been selling online for a long time. And I think Jabong proves that most of the categories are doing fantastically well online here as well. Besides that, I think digital marketing in India is going to be much more different than any place else in the world, especially with having approximately 170 million phone users that are accessing the internet.
Great. Thanks for that, Amit. So let me come to this question. Narayan touched upon this point of putting audience first, looking at the audience, and then deciding what you want to do. If you look at what we were doing, 20 years ago, all of us bought, probably my father bought a Titan watch, I bought a Titan watch, probably he bought a Titan watch for his father. But that's obviously changing quite drastically now. Consumer behavior is changing online even more faster than what it was, the way it was happening earlier. Given this, how does one address the challenges? Are these people now getting into sort of almost bargain hunting on the internet? And when you talk about building trust and a brand online, how are you going to manage it? People just come there, ask for discounts, and they're just looking for discounts. I mean, they don't really care where where they're getting it from.
Yeah. So let me take it up. Right? So this is a question that gets asked to us a lot of times. I think this was also being asked to some of the gentlemen in the last panel when we were standing over there, saying that I don't go to an offline store, but I prefer going to an online just because it's cheaper over there. From discount, one, convenience, and these are primarily people who are in bigger cities like Bangalore, Delhi, Bombay, and they say, I don't want to spend 30 minutes, 40 minutes in just traveling to a mall and to buy something and waste my time in parking and everything. So I have personally started buying my groceries online just because I want to save time. So similarly, there are enough number of people who want to save time, they know what to buy. They have a trust on a particular retailer and they just go over there and buy from there. Second big reason that we hear is accessibility. And this is primarily from smaller people coming from smaller cities. So you would be surprised, there is a city from Northeast which is amongst our top 10 or top 15 cities in terms of traffic and transactions, which is really surprising. A small city from Northeast, because there is no access over there. People want to buy branded shoes, branded watches, etc. But for them, the only option is either they should travel for 2-3 hours to a bigger city, or they come to an online store like Jabong and buy from there. So from that perspective, yes, there would be always a portion of people who will look for deals and discount, but a far higher number of people are looking for either convenience or for accessibility, and that's the reason why they come online.
So, so just to sort of take this point forward, and Narayan, I'll come to you after this. So, when you look at saying that, when I acquire a customer, I expect the lifetime value that I can extract from this customer. But, many of them are discount hunters, and the rest of the people, like you said, who do it for convenience, I think at some point get influenced by those discount hunters because, it's saying, maybe I'm not getting a better deal than what the other guy is getting, and let me go and hunt for it.
Not necessary. So yes, I would agree. You deal hunters or discount sharks will never have any kind of loyalty. So they will move to the next store as soon as the next store gives them a better discount or a deal. But people who are looking for a convenience, they value other things like assortment, like service quality. So the reason a lot of people, the reason why they come to us is because we have the largest assortment in India in fashion lifestyle space, 2x of the next biggest competitor. So, and they value these kind of things. They know if I go to Jabong, or I'm not talking about Jabong specifically, but maybe there would be other retailers, they would have their affinity saying, I'm going to this store because this store offers me a full assortment, or this store offers me a great service, or I shopped at this some other store and I had a pathetic service last time. Even if they give me a better discount, I will never go to them. So for example, personally, I used to use a particular taxi service, online taxi service, till about a few weeks back. And twice it happened that I had a very, very bad experience with them. And all of a sudden my loyalties changed from something to something. And the first company reached out to me and said that we will give you a discounted rate or something. But even though they are giving me a discounted rate, I still move on to some other service provider, just because I value the timeliness, the kind of service that driver provides me. I value that much more than a few ₹100 discount that the first company was giving me. And my firm belief is there would be enough number of people sitting in this room who would have a similar point of view. So there would always be people who would be persuaded by deals and discount, and hence we would find it very difficult to calculate the customer lifetime value of this customer. But for others, they would have fantastic customer lifetime value, provided you can provide them good service, you can provide them timely delivery, you can keep up to your promises, you can provide them a good customer experience. They will always stick to you, they will always come back to you, no matter what.
Okay, Narayan, so you were talking about, just to sort of get this point and to talk about from the mobile standpoint, and what do you tell, e-commerce companies, Jabong, Gitanjali, Gems, for example, what should you be doing on the mobile platform and, talking to customers there?
From a mobile perspective, most of the questions I get, and as I was saying in my opening remarks, that most of the time clients are confused. Clients are not sure of what they want to exactly do. How will it impact them? How will it build value? How will it they still have questions of digital. So mobile is a subset of digital right now, unfortunately. So there are still confusions in mind that, okay, it really is online the way, is digital the way, is mobile the way, and stuff like that. And that is when I tell them that my audience field comes to the picture. That I said, your people who are actually going to buy, are currently buying, or maybe will buy in future, are actually going to be only on mobile. Okay, very soon. And and mobile is an interesting place where it plays multiple roles in a, earlier in other mediums, if I compare, TV was entertainment, okay, primarily, okay, newspaper was information, radio was both entertainment and information, to a certain extent. Internet was a combination of a little more things. It was entertainment to start with. It started with entertainment, then it went to news, and then went to a couple of other stuff. But mobile is one unique medium which can do all of them. All of them in a personalized manner. All of us use mobile for entertainment. All of us use for discovery. All of us use for search. All of us use mobile for information. So that is an interesting aspect where mobile plays a multitude of roles in one's life as an audience. And that is when I tell the brands that you need to be relevant to this user.
So do you think, sorry, so do you think people are actually, for example, can Jabong run a mobile only campaign, or, add mobile and say, I can actually sell to customers on mobile?
They're already doing it.
Okay.
With us.
Right.
So I agree. I think mobile is one particular channel which is growing phenomenally for all of us.
Okay.
It started as very small. I don't know if there's somebody from Facebook here, but they will tell you the number of people. So last year, when I first met Facebook, beginning of last year, they told us around 40-45 million people who were there on Facebook. This year, beginning of this year, they had some 80 million people. And a significant portion, I don't remember the number, but I think it was around 50-60% of the additional people who had come on Facebook, they had created their account on mobile.
Okay.
So, and this would be similar for any e-commerce company also. The amount of traffic transaction that we would be seeing from mobile, it's growing phenomenally. So not only Jabong is growing, for example, or any other e-commerce company is growing, the share of mobile is also growing. So mobile is catching up much faster than any other medium.
It's happening in banking, interestingly. Okay. What we've always seen that, I do a lot of transactions on my HDFC account using my mobile now. And there are like several friends of mine who are doing, banking is one place, travel is another place. Clients of mine and partners of mine like Ibibo, Meet My Trip, Fair Trip, I don't think anyone is here, but they will tell you that how much travel is impacting through mobile. How many, actually the large percentage of transactions, as compared to overall digital pie are actually going on mobile right now. The ease, the convenience, the discovery, A lot of information available thanks to all the smartphones available. Even the smart feature phones, even any Nokia phone you pick up today is actually as comparable to any other smartphone available in the market. So all these things put together, yes. So my most of my time I spend with advertisers across the globe. One thing I always tell them that the person who is on a mobile phone today, yeah, cannot be compared, or his consumption patterns, his aspirations, the way he looks at the world is entirely different from somebody who you always want to be talking to. So you need to differentiate that bit and make sure that your strategies in terms of digital, which includes mobile, have to be a little different than, and I was saying 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I think we need to start and seed that. And most importantly, as marketeers, we all need to answer one question, that what are we expecting from this medium? Are we expecting sales like any other medium? Are we expecting branding? Are we expecting engagement? Are we expecting, enhancement or whatever current value proposition we have as a brand?
That's a good question. You should ask Manu that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one fundamental question I keep asking most of the brands.
Yeah.
That what is the expectation? Because that is when a lot of expectations of TV, of print, of internet are getting, just juxtaposed.
Yeah.
Because most of them, the same marketeer is spending on all the mediums. Okay, now this is what I'm getting from TV, this is what I'm getting from online, this is what I'm getting from print. Okay, you also should deliver that. That's the unfortunate part right now.
Right. So, can I get Nishant? You spend a lot of money offline. You have a lot of offline presence.
Yeah.
What's the kind of so when you run your campaign, just to take from where what Naran was saying, when you decide to go digital and to market or to advertise to people online, is it the same strategy that you take for what you run on television? Is that the same way that you look at both the audiences?
No, not really. Because what we are seeing is our online customers, whoever is coming to shop, at least on Gitanjali, they're doing most of the research online, right?
Okay.
They may end up transacting in a store, which is perfectly fine for us because we're a brand. But a lot of jewelry buying is such an intensive, time-consuming process that it's more information-based. So the way we market to the customer, the way we target online is fairly different. Offline is mostly branding. We'll buy half a page of an ad and put a film star celebrity in there and it's done, right? But online it's much more nuanced, right? Because from a keyword perspective, we can understand what they're looking for, drive them to the right pages on the site. On Facebook, we can drive different conversations depending on what is make it more interesting instead of just putting an ad in there. Right? So we are digital is allowing me personally to segment and target audiences, whereas in offline it's very much a carpet bombing, as I call it. It's it goes to everybody the same message, whereas digital and that's the advantage that all of us have. Also a disadvantage, the advantage being that now suddenly if you have great customer information and good customer data, you can precisely target them, you can get your right messaging across. For example, Gitanjali Group has 40 brands under it. Each of those brands actually addresses a different consumer, a different target all time. And we do it, by the way. So we actually do paper ads for different brands as well. But it's not one against the other. It's one, for us it's both, right? Because both works. Jewelry in India is still, is graduating into the online space. It's very information heavy today. Jewelry is a very intensive social experience. 5 people show up in a jewelry store to buy something. And in online, you're just clicking at a computer and so the social experience goes away. So we are now experimenting with virtual technologies where, you can actually put up your picture, try on the jewelry and ask the question to your friends, how does this look on me? Right? So suddenly, what was now an offline experience becomes online, and I'm doing marketing in a different way, where the person is now saying, let me ask my friends how this looks on me. And they're all voting on it, they're saying great. And so we're evaluating technologies there as well. So it's very different from offline. So much control, so much precision allowed. You can calculate ROIs, right? Which leads us to the whole question of, is it a branding, Is it transactional? Today we are.
Yet you do so small on that.
We do, and we do because, we are very transaction focused today. Because the Gitanjali brand is sort of well known, so we spend disproportionate amount of time focusing on transactions, but slowly and surely to talk to a different audience who has probably not heard about us, who hasn't read the newspaper or different ads. We are starting to do brand building exercises exclusively online as well.
But transactions is the way I think everybody's looking at on the internet.
Today, yes, but that's not the whole power, right? I mean, you can't just look at transactions alone. We're losing on the power of digital. And brand building is ultimately what we need to be doing as marketing people.
Okay.
What are you without the brand?
I know where my sales guys should be heading now. So, so Amit, you're already online in the US. You have an understanding of how consumers are buying online, etc. in that market. So since you're already present there, for you to move to India, using the digital platform should probably be the most logical way to get into India.
Yes and no. India is a totally different market, as he's been saying. Mobile, whereas in America, mobile has just started to take off, whereas India, it's the starting point. We just actually started doing a lot of social media in America, and it's actually been a fantastic ROI on it. What he was just saying, people will see themselves try on a jewelry, and friends can basically act on saying that they like it or not. It's the same thing happening in America, which is people go on Facebook, they say someone has bought a product off of our website, and it automatically lists them on their Facebook page if they accept it. As soon as people see it, we've seen a great return from people that are friends of these people coming on our website, checking out the item, and maybe not buying the same product or buying a similar product just because their friends have bought it. And Facebook and all of the social media aspects of it, they provide such a great platform of marketing, and the return is such an amazing return that you're not going to find in most of the other digital marketing platforms. That's the same aspect that we're going to apply in India as a starting point, which is much more social media, much more, and we're actually, after having a conversation with him about mobile, we'll actually also look into mobile advertising as well. So it's going to be a totally different starting point that we had in America versus here. And I think social media, we haven't mentioned on it as much, but I think social media might be a great access point where you might want to target some of your budget for that.
Great. So, Manu, you mentioned social media, and just taking on from what Amit was mentioning. So, obviously, a lot of people spend quite a lot of money on Facebook and social media. How do you measure ROI on the platform?
See, that's the beauty of digital. You can almost measure every single thing. You can say this customer came to me from social media, this social media platform, say Facebook versus Twitter versus Pinterest. What did he do on my site? How much time did he spend? Which are the category that he or she browsed through, and whether he or she did he buy anything, and if yes, which category? And after that, did he come back or not? After how much time? How many transactions did he do? So you can almost track everything digitally, and you can then plan your next campaign accordingly. Just coming to the point, you were saying that a lot of people still need to do TV ads, print ads. I'm not saying no to it, but the point, if I make a differentiation between, say, suppose a print ad versus a roadblock on any of the properties like Facebook logout, YouTube homepage takeover, Yahoo homepage takeover, etc. The beauty of a roadblock versus a print ad, I would say two things. One, you can target these things much better. Even if from a pure branding side, you can say male versus female, different age groups, different geographies, I will show different ads, which is not that much possible in a traditional offline like print, etc. Second, you can clearly measure the ROI. You can say, did somebody see my ad or not? Did somebody click on it? And if he or she clicked on it, what did he ended up doing on my site? So these are two big beauties. We inherently believe a lot more on digital. So that's why we have never done any kind of print ads or anything. We have done some part of TV, but we have shied away from print. We believe whatever can be done through print, we can achieve much better ROIs or much better branding through all these digital platforms.
So if you were to look at the ROI, so you have campaigns running on television, you use Facebook, you use mobile, you use display, search, all of this. So if you were to look at all of these and say, which are the ones that you would say give me the highest ROI, and how do you measure it? I mean, for example, television, you spend so much money, and how do you measure that?
So I don't know whether you have noticed this, but the last 7-8 months we have not spent anything on TV. We've been off TV. That was a strategic call that we took because we were still getting like more than 1 million unique visitors on a site without doing any TV campaign. So we said, why to waste more money or why to spend more money on TV? But we do measure ROI. At least we try to measure ROI on TV. Whenever we run TV, what we see is two things happen. More number of people come to us directly or through search for Jabong brand on different search engines, and our click-through rates on different ads typically increase. So we try to measure both these things, and then we try to measure the impact of TV. It's not 100% accurate. We try different methodologies, different type of attribution models to measure it. I would say it's still 75-80% accurate, not 100% accurate. For all other channels, we can 100% we can say with accuracy what has been the ROI. Typically, online or digital marketing tends to give you better ROI. Within digital, I would say search and social tends to give you the best possible ROI. The reason being, in search, the person already has an intent. So somebody is searching for buy shoes online. So he wants to buy a shoe. And if you show him an ad or if you're there organically, there's a very high likelihood that this person will end up buying something, a shoe from your site. So the ROI typically will be much higher. Similarly, on social, the beauty of a platform like Facebook and many other social media is the kind of targeting that you can do. So on Facebook, you can actually say that I want to target a person who is living on MG Road, is in a relationship, is 23-year-old, and is using an iPhone, or maybe 5 other different parameters. So because of the kind of targeting that you can do, you can be very, very specific on what to show to what customer. And hence the ROIs can be fantastically better.
Is it, you said it can be higher, is it?
They are better,
okay.
yeah. So for us, they are better. I'm saying for everybody, they can be better.
Okay.
So within digital, these are the two platforms that typically tend to perform the best in terms of ROI.
Right, so, sorry.
So a small comment there. So apart from, the Facebook ads and everything, I think two things also people need to think about ROIs, customer acquisition costs in online today, right? For us, it's incredibly high. And actually, we actually don't spend too much money at all online today compared to other players. And it's actually a conscious decision for us because the cost of acquiring a customer online is so high in India today because of competition for keywords and whatnot. Even Facebook ads keep increasing in pricing.
Try display.
Yeah, display, right? So you have to keep measuring as a company what is your what is your budgets like, how much do you want to play. One of the things that obviously we haven't talked about, this email marketing is a good way to also on the cheap, right? You can do email marketing if you invest money in SEO. So there are so many avenues of marketing in digital world. It's not only spending money, right? Of course, you need to do both, right? Yeah. But you need to also spend time focusing on the other things around marketing, right? Which is just, one is acquiring the customer, but after that, how do you keep that customer engaged? It's much cheaper maintaining that customer than going out and acquiring a new one, right? So we actually spend disproportionate amount of time reaching out to the same customers over and over again, right? Through email, we even actually call customers. Of course, our database is much, much smaller than other online companies.
Yeah. So do you retarget your customers regularly, and how do you sort of, do you sort of, cross-sell, upsell to customers?
We do. So, and we do it through two different mediums. One is display advertising. Second is email, as you mentioned. On display, we retarget based on 5 different parameters. So we have a algorithm based on 5 different. So it takes into factors like when did you come to a site, what has been the duration between the last time when you came to a site versus today. It takes into account which are the categories that you browse through, what was the source through which you came in. So did you come to a site directly, or did you came through some other paid channel, or through some other medium? It takes into account the time that you had spent on a site and one or two other parameters. So based on these 5-6 parameters, we come up with a score, and then we decide how much to retarget you, at what frequency, at what properties. And then did you ended up buying on a site or not? So that is also one of the factors. Similarly, on email, we say these are the customers who bought something. So these are customer who is typically much more likely to buy a branded product. He's a very, very brand conscious person. So let's send him an email message which is only related to brands and something related to what he bought. So say suppose he bought something related to sports brands, and always he has been loyal to one of the sports brands, so we will only send him an email message related to that sports brand. There's another customer who is brand agnostic. He doesn't care about brand, but is more of a brick loyalist. So he has come and bought 3 pair of jeans from us. So can we sell something else which is related to jeans, or can we offer him more options within jeans, because he's a customer who thinks of Jabong only maybe as jeans. So we'll give him both the options, things that will go along with jeans and more jeans that he can buy. So these are the things that we keep on doing both display advertising as well as on email marketing to retarget customers and to bring them back to our site.
Great. So, Amit, last to you before we open it to the floor. You obviously have a lot more data about your customers and potential customers and so on and so forth. So what do you do to sort of retarget this?
Retargeting, as we were talking about, is a great ROI. You acquire a customer, the customer acquisition cost. So basically what we do is we spend on Google pay-per-click ads. If a person does not buy product, he's retargeted and he's followed through where he goes throughout his next sites, the next couple of sites, through display ads. And that's a great ROI. We basically call the pay-per-click ad that we paid for it as a lost, he was not converted into a customer. But then we count the retargeting as where we actually acquired the customer. So you have to, again, see where you can apply your budgets, how you want to do ads. Because we've been online 8 to 9 years in America, so we have a lot more data points than most of the people here. So we can target, we have customers that have bought us from 8 years ago, and they've continued to buy throughout the last 8 years. So we know exactly which category, which type of a product. And we've had customers that have bought an engagement ring, that have bought an anniversary ring, that has bought his children's jewelry. So you have to follow them throughout their life cycle of buying whatever category that you're targeting. For us in jewelry, it's all about Christmas gifts or birthday gifts or anniversary gifts, and we try to collect those data points so that we can actually retarget them through emails, which is a much cheaper medium to contact them through than any other method. Besides that, SEO, we've missed out on SEO as a method to get customers. And SEO has traditionally been the cheapest method to acquire a customer, which is called organically. And we've been actually one of the lucky few of getting, in the first couple of years, great positioning on Google, Bing, and Yahoo to get customers. It's probably the cheapest way to acquire a customer. Besides that, there's new things acquiring, like Facebook, social media is now one of our biggest things. Mobile is starting to take off also. And we're going to apply basically the same things that we learned in America, coming and bringing back to India. However, with different viewpoints of what Indian consumer actually wants.
Great. So do we have 5 minutes? Okay. Any questions? Right.
Hello. Hi, I'm Vishwati. My question is, for marketeers, one of the most important thing is to know the customers. Now, when the product doesn't get delivered on time or it is in transit happen, it is very easy for a customer to go to the social media and just pull out the points, pull out the pants and with obnoxious language and everything. But when we go to them and ask for the reviews, product reviews, or likes, dislikes, or taste and preferences, but what happened? They are very hesitate to give their views. So is it a serious limitation for technology to engage the customer on the same platform? So what's your views on this? Student app.
So,
Yeah.
so I'll share my personal experience and maybe others can add it. So I agree with you in a way, right? So we have found it, I don't know whether it is cultural or it is specific to India, but whenever there is a bad thing which happens, customer typically tend to write review and tend to write it on multiple platforms. But whenever there is a good experience, customers do not talk about it. Unlike US, so if you go and see sites which are much more US centric, people tend to write both positive and negative. In India, typically, the tendency is I will only write a review or a message if there is something which is negative. Nothing if it is positive. So, but we try to encourage customers. From our side, what we do is, once the product is delivered, we send out an email to customers saying, hey, we know that the product was delivered to you. Would you like to give us a feedback on a 11-point scale? And then there are 4 or 5 subsequent questions that we ask them. Not everybody answers, but a lot of people actually end up answering. We also encourage them to write reviews for these products on a site. But the hit rate or the response rate is still not as high as what we would expect it to be.
What's your open rate generally?
Sorry?
What's your open rate of the emailer generally?
Open rate of all emails would be in double digits. But a lot of people, even if they open, if there's a promotional email, they will end up clicking on it. But if it is a feedback email, sometimes they click on it, they respond to it, sometimes they don't.
I think it's more than cultural. You have to understand the process. When I said again audience, as a media advertising person, I'll go back to the audience again. What we are talking about is conversations. Now, just because you're a brand and you have a Facebook page out there, doesn't mean that the conversations, seamlessly get transferred onto your Facebook page. No. You are talking, so you and your couple of your friends are discussing over a cup of coffee somewhere in the evening, somewhere out, in Bangalore. You don't want a brand to sit in between you and be a part of this conversation. You will never make a brand a part of the conversation. That's not human. Let's understand that's not human. We're talking about real people here. We're not talking about some bots who are trying to write some reviews on somewhere. We're talking about real people interacting in the real world with real brands. And I have a tendency to complain, yes, because my expectation has not been met. And a good thing happens, you walk into a retail store, you buy a good shoe, you're happy with the shoe. You don't go back to the retailer and say, "Bahut acha shoe diya tumne." No, you don't do that, right? Do we do that? No. So why are you expecting the guy to do it? That's the bare minimum expectation of a transaction which you're fulfilling. And if that fulfillment doesn't happen, he has a place now to go back and complain, right? So that's the double-edged sword of social media, and all the advertisers will agree, because you have to be extremely careful with social media. It can turn either ways to you. And there are a lot of international brands who got really, really rogered because of that.
Yeah. So for us, we actually look as like online reputation management as well. Abused word by everyone. But really what it means is, can you manage conversations with your customers, right? Will you have 100% positive? No, right? But it's the way you connect with them, and what customers, when they complain on Facebook, the worst thing you could do is not respond. That's the absolute worst.
Or delete.
Or delete it, right? And you have to be cognizant of the fact that this customer is a person, and there are, and the more fans you have, the more people are watching what you're going to do on that next move, right? So, and remember now that conversations are no longer on Facebook. You actually even have to monitor your brand keywords across blogs, because a blogger who has a big following could write a very damaging experience about it. You may never know about it, but you will lose customers even before they become your customers. Yeah. So while we spend money talking about advertising, marketing, please remember that as brands, and we are starting that journey as well, is that we no longer control the communication. The customer controls the communication. So the customer is talking about your brand everywhere. Now it's up to you to invest resources, time, effort, to reach to that customer, ask them what's happening. And we actually, even for a negative comment or something, and we sell on eBay and other marketplaces, we get a negative feedback or something, we actually proactively reach out to the customer. We actually give them like a discount voucher or something to sort of, hope that the next time they'll still come back to us, right? And it's all about managing the conversation and your reputation, because if someone writes about you and if you are not managing it, someone else will, right? So you have to take control of it.
Right, I think we're running out of time. Just one question?
Yeah, my
Yeah.
question to Amit.
Yeah.
Can I? Yeah, I will
Okay,
take the privilege
fine.
of asking the last question. Yeah. Amit, actually, since already you have been running a website, a jewelry website in America, and now you have planned to do the same in India. The biggest challenge in India is actually shipping precious jewelry through couriers. So I want to understand that what is your plan to tackle that one?
Shipping, that's one of the main reasons we haven't come on to India. However, recently what we've seen is that there are many carriers that are starting to carry high value items. The cost is high still.
Exactly, the insurance
cost is
will be
still high. But you have to understand that people are willing to pay that cost also. So don't give it to them free, but charge them for it. And there are carriers, and I think he's probably a better person to tell you about the carriers, and we can talk about it after the event. But there are many carriers now carrying high value items. So you should not, taking it to tier 2, tier 3 cities might still be a problem right now. However, I think everyone should think about it as 5-year horizon and not a 1-year horizon or a 2-year horizon. So if you do 5 years, 10 years out, I am 100% sure that we're going to have enough ability to sell all types of merchandise across all over India.
Thanks.
Right, thanks guys. I think any questions, please ask them offline. Thank you all for a fantastic panel.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Kiran, Manu, Nishant, Narayan, and Amit. I just wanted to again give a promo of our concluding session, a conversation of Kunal Behel, founder and CEO of Snapdeal.com, with Ashish Chalani. It's right before lunch. Please don't miss that session.